Ready? And
hi, my name is Paul Bryan, and today I'm really excited to be with Elizabeth Terry, the Managing Director of TGL Smile and the foremost Master Coach and Trainer in Neuro-Linguistic Programming, NLP, in the region. Today I'll be talking with Liz around the topic of leadership in the context of COVID-19. Enjoy it, listen up, let's welcome Liz. Liz, good to have you here.
Thank you very much, Paul. Delighted to be here with you.
Fantastic. So it's 2022, and the last 2 years has been particularly challenging for everyone, but I would say most of the leaders.
Absolutely.
They have had to pivot. Talk to me, Liz, about what is required in pivoting your leadership to make sure that you can serve the new demands of your teams.
It's an excellent question because we've been talking for the last 20 months or so about pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
And really, when it comes down to it, pivoting is about new thinking. You have to change your thinking in order to get different results. You know, it said that you can't solve the problem by the same level of thinking that created it.
Right.
So how do you get there? Well, NLP is actually based on a process of what we call modeling of excellence.
Mm-hmm.
That's the genesis for how NLP was developed. And so it's really about an individual, first of all, developing traits like curiosity and flexibility, because often we are very stuck in our thinking, and it has, you know, this is what we have done all along, and this is what we have to do now. And so it is to come to the table with an attitude and thinking of curiosity and flexibility. And those are the two key things that NLP can help you with, based on modeling others who have actually used this kind of thinking and techniques, their values, their beliefs, their strategies. What are they actually doing? Because often we think of modeling, we think of just behavior. You know, what action is the person taking? But it stems from the mind and the thinking and what's behind that. So how do we develop flexibility?
So in the context of pivoting neuro-linguistic programming, it is identifying the new ways of thinking through modeling the best in that area, modeling the best in leadership now. Is that what we're saying?
Absolutely right, Paul.
Fantastic. All right. Now that is fantastic that leaders can get a hold of themselves with that. And then what remains a mystery is when this thing will end, and what is with that is this uncertainty, this unpredictability constantly. How do leaders navigate that space of not knowing today what's going to happen tomorrow for a whole period of time? What's that?
Well, it's understandable that we would feel very uncomfortable in this environment, because the brain is really a predictive model. It works on, you know, what has happened in the past is what is going to happen now, and therefore anything that kind of throws us in the deep end of the pool, right? We don't know how to react, and we don't know how to navigate.
We resist it, actually.
We resist it, absolutely, because we want certainty.
Right.
So how do we, you know, calm our natural response? You know, we have a little part of our brain called the amygdala. And the amygdala is what really triggers our fear and anxiety when we are thrown in the deep end of the pool.
Right.
And so finding techniques that will help calm that reaction and put us in a position of feeling, at least internally, certain about ourselves so that we can make better decisions. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, I'm sure that there have been some instances in your life, Paul, even if you look back, where you had to find ways of doing things even when you were walking into unknown territory.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's to find at least one example, maybe 2 or 3, where you have actually done that, and go back to that feeling that you had internally, that feeling of certainty, exactly, the feeling of yes, I can do it, because often that's what really throws us into a tailspin, that we think we can't, and we feel very unsure of our next steps. So one of the things is to really find those times when we have been able to be courageous, to be feeling confident despite circumstances, and remember those and bring those to mind, to our conscious mind, so that we can use those as examples to help us find that inner confidence going forward.
Yeah, and I can see that as a leader, you want to find those moments where you succeeded in that space, because the people that you're leading are looking at you.
Absolutely.
And if you are not displaying the confidence necessary in a time like this, then they will be doubting whether they can. So it leads me to my next question, and that is, with the uncertainty of today comes with how does a leader create a vision that can be inspiring, that people can believe in, because in this time, because no one knows what's going to happen. What would be the key elements to creating a vision that is captivating, engaging, and hold people and really help them to move forward?
So one of the things that I think is really important in developing a vision, not just in these difficult times, but generally, is to fully engage the person's why. Why is it I should really work for this company? Where is this company going? Where am I leading? And I think the millennials of today in particular, they need that question answered. What is the unique difference that this company is going to bring? Why should I remain with this company? People are leaving companies and deciding to go and work for their own. So you have got to have that answer to connect with your employees' hearts and minds, because it is the heart, really, the emotional part of an individual that will make an employee feel inspired to stay, not just for 2 or 3 months, but really to stay with you through the longer haul. Nowadays people are not staying for 20 or 30 years, right? But at least a few years, so that you are able to put a team together in order to move your vision forward. I think also connecting that vision with the day-to-day operations and accountability of the individual. How does this big vision that you have created impact me in my day-to-day operations? So helping people to make that connection, I believe, is also very important. Your vision has to somehow light them up and be very succinct. I was like Bill Gates' is a computer on every desk in every home. Wow, that's a heck of a vision,
right.
And easy to articulate, very on point, and you can visualize it yourself.
Yeah. I have a question around that, particularly now, because sometimes I think leaders create their own vision and then share it with the team. How much collaboration is required these days in crafting a vision? It seems to me that there are elements of
Yeah. I think that you have to come to the table with something as a leader. That's my personal perspective. It's not just a blank slate. I think you have to position or give some direction to the team and say, hey, this is my big vision. Tell me what you think about it. Contribute to it. Let me hear what you have to say. I think it's important to get that engagement and collaboration, but it's not just, okay, guys, let's get together and roll up sleeves and build a vision. I believe the leader is a leader because the leader has a vision for the company.
Great. Thank you, Liz. I appreciate that. And then the other thing that fascinates me now is, as we leaders change our mindset so that we can be more effective running our organizations, how do we help our people to change their mindsets? How do we help them to pivot in their kind of roles? How would we, what sort of communication is required to be effective in that realm?
Well, it's a little more than communication. Obviously, communication is really important. I believe that in a nutshell, it's helping your employees to move from what is called Carol Dweck, I think is the name of the individual that came up with this term, between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And I think a lot of people really come with a very fixed mindset. And it stems from what I said earlier about how your brain works.
Right.
And so it is to help that individual to understand that, in particular, the kind of era we're living in, that you have to be willing to grow and evolve. and helping to support and to build the environment which allows your staff to experiment a little bit. Because if you don't allow people to fail, then it's a problem. Because now I don't want to try anything new.
Right.
I just want to follow exactly what you have to say.
Right.
Yeah? So I think it's creating that environment that supports persons to develop that growth mindset of curiosity, of experimentation. Obviously there needs to be some, something in place that protects the company in terms of, maybe making large mistakes. But I think the environment, the culture of the organization must allow people to make mistakes, to quote unquote fail. In NLP we say there is no such thing as failure, it's only feedback.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And certainly in this time, it's constant feedback that leaders need, and in my mind, they must do everything to keep the channel open. What are some of the ways that we can just keep the channel open?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's simple things like open door policy, at least at certain times,
Right.
where you're creating that environment where someone can come and talk to you and feel comfortable. It's building rapport with your staff. It's not the leader here and all the employees here. That's going away. We are becoming organizations that are much flatter. So encouraging that open communication means that you need to develop relationships with people. You need to be connecting with people. And there are occasions, especially now, in this era, where people are really facing a lot of difficulty financially, health-wise, family-wise. There's so many things that are going on in people's lives. So how do you, as a leader, both hold someone accountable, but at the same time be empathetic? So it's finding that balance between accountability and empathy.
Yes, that's challenging. Elizabeth, it's so great talking to you. I can see that leadership is not something that you necessarily are born with all the skills for. And I know that there's a debate, is it born or is it bred? And I'm happy that leaders are bred, because what we've been talking about in our brief conversation are things that if you're in a leadership role, you need to adopt, you need to create a growth plan for yourself to be able to be effective. As we wrap up, Elizabeth, what would you say to our audience who's listening now around the tools that they could access to become the kind of leader for 2022 and beyond?
Yeah. Well, as an NLP trainer and master coach, I'm going to come with neuro-linguistic programming, because it's really all about how to use your mind successfully. And I think now more than ever in this era, we need to understand that our minds are our greatest resource. And we're no longer just about the external environment. We can't just count on external environment to remain the same.
Right.
So how do we adapt and adjust? And the greatest resource that we have is our minds. And NLP is a wonderful body of knowledge and set of tools and techniques that can help leaders really delve into that resource and empower them to make the most of that asset. Like, what is your return on investment?
Right.
And how do you use that asset to the best of your ability? So we have developed a program designed for leaders using neuro-linguistic programming. And I would just invite our listeners here to come in, and speak with me, reach out to TGL Smile, talk with us, and see how you can become involved in this program. It's exceedingly flexible, done in a combination of self-study and interactive webinars, discussion groups, videos. I mean, it's just really an exciting program designed by leaders for leaders. So I would just encourage our listeners to get in touch with us and find out how you can jump on this bandwagon.
Yeah, I like the flexibility I hear in that program that you have. And if we consider that, I think I've heard this somewhere that we only use 2% of our brains. If we consider that we can tap into more of that mindset, it can be phenomenally wonderful what we can create as leaders.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, it was fantastic talking to you. I look forward to further discussions on this as we support leaders to be the best they can be so that their companies can absolutely excel.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
Liz.
Paul. It's been great being here.